gaslit somebody like Tucker Carlson, the more he's going to do exactly the opposite. Okay? Like, if you don't want to hear what he has to say, then stop talking about him all day. Like, it's very easy. It's much simpler than you think it is. If you really dislike what Tucker Carlson is doing, every single time he says something, you all share 1,000 clips of him. There's a million clips that come out. Look what he said. Like, okay, well, you just boosted him in the algorithm by 1,000%. Well done. Like, it's such a foolish notion to try and convince anybody an American male, like just a red-blooded American male, to say you can't talk about that and stop talking about that, and if you do, we're going to come after you. The response is going to be the same every single time. Screw you. I'm going to talk about it more. Okay? I'm going to talk about it way more now. I'm going to talk about it every day, and everything you don't want me to do, I'm going to go do it. Like, I mean, like, it's a stupid concept to trying to convince people not to talk about things. You're not going to convince them to do that.
One message to hold in your hearts today, it's this: never, ever give up.
FBI raid at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence.
Deadly force being authorized.
Nothing worth doing ever, ever, ever came easy.
Donald J. Trump has been indicted.
Jack Smith has again indicted former President Trump.
Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve. Like they said, take a look at what happened. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight. Never, ever, ever give up. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong.
CNN projects that Donald Trump has been elected president.
Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider, because it's the outsiders who change the world. 250 million Americans are not garbage. And it'll make a real and lasting difference. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You must keep pushing forward.
I think that we just witnessed the greatest political comeback in the history of the United States of America.
So just remember that. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. America is beginning a new chapter. Our best days are yet to come. I can promise you that.
There's a rumble in the distance, something stirring up the ground. Coffee shops and corner stores, people talking all around. But the words they're speaking softly got a weight that pulls you down. Something's moving through the grapevine, word by word from town to town. And they lean in close to tell you what they heard somebody say. But the truth gets bent and twisted as it travels on its way. Who do you trust? When the talk gets low, who do you trust? When the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow, who do you trust? Tell me who do you trust? Backroom deals and handshake, promises sliding underneath the door. Politicians playing poker with the chips are rich and poor. Every word's a calculation, every pause worth so much more. While the people keep on waiting for the truth they're hungry for. And they lean in close to tell you what they heard somebody say. But the truth gets bent and twisted as it travels on its way. Who do you trust? When the talk gets low, who do you trust? When the whispers grow in the sound like strangers in the booth. We're all just trying to listen to the static and the noise, but the loudest information drowns out the quieter voice. Who do you trust when the talk gets low? Who you trust when the whispers grow in the halls of power where the secrets flow? Who you trust? Tell me, who do you trust? Who you trust? Do you trust? Do you trust? Do you trust when the whispers grow?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Political Theater, everybody. We've got a lot to talk about this evening. Thank you guys for showing up. You guys are showing up on any of the different platforms, X or Substack, or on WCDispatch.com. Make sure you guys share the link out, let people know that we are live. Thank you guys for being here. If you guys have a comment, you can always put it down below, and we're going to get rolling right away. There's this story that just came out. I guess I'm not very surprised by this, that there's now a Democrat congresswoman who's been indicted for allegedly using $5 million worth of FEMA funds to fund her campaigns. Anybody else who's been paying attention probably isn't that surprised by this. I'm not very shocked by it at all, but it is definitely pretty interesting that this came out just now. So this is what's her name here? This is Congresswoman Chephilis McCormick and her brother Edwin Chephilis. Apparently, both of them worked through their family healthcare company on a FEMA-funded COVID-19 vaccination staffing contract in 2021 and funneled $5 million of that, apparently received an overpayment of $5 million, and then used that to fund her congressional campaign. Now, for those who have been paying attention and know what's going on around, you may remember that Act Blue had a bunch of interesting stuff going on back a while ago. And Act Blue was, they suddenly started having to fire people, and they started losing staff members when USAID got all tied up. So I think that we're in a very interesting scenario right now. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put this up on the screen here. This is the new story that just came out. If this is true, and this is going to continue to go like this, I think that we're in a scenario where we're going to see a lot more of these. That's my thought. I think we're going to see a whole lot more of these in the near future. So I'm not going to be very surprised if we see a lot more of them in the near future. But that's just come out here today. So I'm sure we'll find out some more information on it here reasonably soon. We also had Kash Patel said that he brought up something to do with this. So I'm curious what Kash only said that this woman she violated the law and that we acted quickly. Well, I don't know about quickly, seeing here it just came out today, but I mean, whatever it is, I mean, it's as long as it's done, that's all I care about. So we'll find out more information about this over the next couple of days, but I'm not going to be surprised, guys, if we see a lot more of this in the near future. That's what my comment is really on this. I think we're going to see a whole lot more of this coming out here soon. But we'll find out more about what happens with this funding here from FEMA. Just the fact that it even happened in the first place is absurd to me. But I'm not going to be surprised if there's lots of Democrats that are caught up in this. And this is actually my prediction back in a few months ago, that what was really going to happen with the Act Blue stuff, what was really going to happen there is that we were going to see the Democrats were going to we weren't going to see stuff immediately, but I think the Trump administration was going to use it to their political advantage, to the best political advantage that they possibly could. And I think that's exactly what's going on now. So we'll find out more as this begins to unfold, but this is definitely new and interesting stuff that just came out. So check that out if you haven't yet. That is the congresswoman that was charged for stealing $5 million in FEMA funds. Now, if you guys also remember, all of the other FEMA funds that we found out what they were doing with them back before. The FEMA funding before was absurd. It was, the FEMA funding that we found out that they were funding illegal immigrants to get 5-star hotels up in New York. There was all sorts of stuff going on with this money. So it seems to me that FEMA funding was not used for anything except for what it was supposed to be used for. I mean, you weren't allowed to use it for actual American citizens and disaster relief. You had to pay for, congresswomen's, Democrat congresswomen's campaigns. So that's pretty interesting stuff that's come out here today. We've got a lot of other stuff to go over, too. Plaskett out here is just looking absurd. Plaskett's now come out and said that she's moving forward after finding out that she was texting Jeffrey Epstein, getting directions what to ask Michael Cohen during the interview that she had during the congressional hearing. She's just moving on. She's just moving on with it. There's also, we find out that the censure vote that was supposed to happen against Plaskett, that there was some backroom dealing going on with that. So there was backroom dealing. Apparently Corey Mills was supposed to be indicted or was supposed to be brought up on some ethics charge, and they cut a deal with him. Tim Burchett's been all over this. If you guys aren't following Tim Burchett, you really should. He's been all over this story, and he's been talking about it. I'm sure he's pissed a bunch of people on Capitol Hill off, but I like Tim Burchett a lot. He's been doing pretty great stuff with this. So we've got a lot more to go over with that, guys. Make sure you guys share this space out. And if you guys have something to say, you can always put a comment down below. This is the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. I'm your host, Walter Kurt. Thank you guys for being here this evening. So I think I want to get into first, I want to go over this Plaskett stuff, because this stuff is probably the most absurd out of all of it. Let's see here. Why can't I seem to see my screen share? Don't know why it's not working. There we go. Nope, not showing up. Oh, there we go. Now it is. Okay. So the screen share. So this is Plaskett's response to this. And she was on CNN and she responded to this. And for those who missed it over the past couple days, so what happened was a couple days ago, the Washington Post, amazingly, honestly, I was kind of surprised it was Washington Post. I don't know if anybody else was kind of shocked by that. I mean, in a spontaneous act of journalism, the Post actually published something that wasn't just pure Democrat propaganda. But Plaskett was, apparently in the midst of the Michael Cohen hearing, was sitting there and texting him, and Cohen was giving directions on what she was supposed to say, how she was supposed to ask it, what she was supposed to ask about. So anyhow, we go through that, and of course that was brought up on the floor. And this has kind of exploded into a huge backfire for the Democrats. I mean, it couldn't have gone any worse for them, really. Jamie Raskin came out and called Jeffrey Epstein just nothing but a constituent, people. There's no rule against a constituent texting or calling a member of Congress during a hearing. There's no rule against that, so we shouldn't have a censure vote. So the backroom deal that happened with the censure vote is that, apparently Corey Mills was, up for ethics stuff, but Plaskett herself has now come out on CNN, and she's just, apparently she has just moved on, guys. We don't need to talk about this anymore. There's nothing wrong with it. No question. No one ask any questions at all. So here she is.
That Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm moving forward. And I think that that's what we as American people should do, is move forward. If individuals are not involved in illegal activity, extending his criminal enterprise or his financial enterprise or all of those things, I think that we need to look at what people are doing moving forward.
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time he was a known sex offender and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes, and as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can.
Oh, man. Everyone move on. America needs to move forward, according to Stacey Plaskett, everybody. America needs to move forward. We can't talk about this anymore. Why are you asking questions? Shut up. I mean, I just love it, guys. It's so funny. It's so absurd. They got caught in the midst of this ridiculous Epstein circus that they've created for themselves. They get caught in this, and now it's blown back on them. And their response is, everyone just needs to move forward, everyone. No, we don't want to talk about this. What's wrong with you? I mean, I wasn't friends with him. I was just texting him, hey, buddy. She was sitting back in her chair. She's texting, hey, Jeffy, what do I ask? Tell me what to say. I mean, come on, guys. Yeah, we're going to move on from that. Is that what the goal is here? So, and I do actually like that CNN was like, but he was a known sex offender then. Are we not going to, we're not going to address that? No, we're moving forward. Moving on, everybody. Moving on. I love these people. It is so ridiculous to me. I mean, I assume we'll have, what's her name? The lady that was just caught with this $5 million that she was stealing from FEMA. Will that be her response on CNN as well? She'll come out, I'm moving forward, everyone. And everyone else needs to move forward. No questions. Thank you. You can't come in here and ask any questions about any of the illegal activities that we were up to. This is just so typical for the Democrats. It is just so typical of the Democrats that anytime that anything happens to them, they don't even acknowledge it. It didn't happen. It doesn't matter. Be quiet. Stop asking questions. We're not going to talk about it. I love it. I love it. I love these people. It's so disingenuous. I think it's so obvious that everybody knows that this is going to be a huge problem for them, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, they already found out that Jeffries himself was trying to solicit campaign donations from Epstein. So I assume that the Democrats this whole Epstein saga is going to backfire badly for them, very badly. It's not going to go well. It's not going to be okay for them at all. But Plaskett, according to her, we don't have anything to look at anymore, guys. Everyone just needs to move on with their lives. And, America should move forward with her, apparently, which is just hysterical. I love it. What's up, Jack Tron? You came up here. Put your hand up.
All right, so we got a couple of things that just came out. So first off, the House just passed a measure to outlaw cashless bail in D.C. and to stop activist judges from repeatedly releasing violent offenders back onto the streets. And then, of course, we also got this violent Portland Antifa member, Trenton Edward Barker, has been federally convicted for an arson attack on the ICE facility. So we got that going for us. And so a little more information about the member of Congress who was just indicted. I got it right here. It says her name is Sheila Sherfilis McCormick of Florida, indicted for allegedly stealing and laundering $5 million in FEMA funds.
Yeah, that's I opened the show talking about that. So this is the big story right now. I mean, this is going to be everywhere. And again, the biggest part about this to me is that everyone needs to remember is that the Democrats, I think this is going to be a huge problem for them. Like, I really do. I actually believe that it's going to be a lot worse than just this. I think there's going to be a lot of these. I think there's going to be a number of people that come out that they find out that their campaign funds were somehow, some way, they were going to have come from they're going to come from taxpayer dollars. I think that's the big thing about USAID. I mean, the USAID thing, why did the Democrats freak out so badly about that? Anybody ask that question? I mean, why did they lose their minds so much about USAID, an agency that no one really paid any attention to, that most Americans didn't even know really existed? But then as soon as the Trump comes out and says he's going to cut USAID, all of the Democrats, the entire Democrat Party was standing out front of it, chanting and holding signs and stuff as if USAID was the most important agency that's ever existed. I mean, it was so fake and so obvious. And then you start looking through the funding on it. I mean, I think this is where you're going to see this combination of taxpayer dollars coming back to Democrats. They're going to have kickback. This is where I think we're going to see a lot of movement. I think this is actually going to happen. And part of the reason I think that's going to happen is because we haven't heard a whole lot about it. They know that they're looking into the money, and they have access to the Treasury, and they have access to all this stuff. So they can see where the money went, and they can see how the money got there. So I'm not going to be surprised if, as we start to move into these midterms, there's going to be more indictments like this that come out. And the thing about financial crimes, I'd like to remind people, is that the reason financial crimes are really good is because you can't really, there's no debate about them. That's why it's important. Like if you have on a ledger that shows money arrived from this, and you got it as a result of, kickback from some foreign entity that showed up in your campaign finance somehow, and they smurfed it in there. If those who don't know what smurfing is, that's tiny little microtransactions that Act Blue was caught doing. It's actually Win Red was caught doing it as well. My theory was a few months ago, I floated the idea that because of USAID going away, that we were actually going to see a major drop off in the amount of money that you see in some of these campaigns. I was actually kind of expecting that. I didn't look into it further in the Virginia race or in the New Jersey race. I knew the Virginia race, it was close to similar to the previous years, but I wanted to look and see if it was more, because my theory was that if it's significantly less, then that might be part of it, that we're going to start to see some of that money dry up. But I haven't seen that. I need to go look into the numbers deeper to find that out, because I think that's going to be something that happens. I think you're going to see a lot of money drop off. I think you're going to see a lot of these campaigns get a lot more competitive because there's not going to be money involved in it. And without the apparatus that they have, where they were able to funnel money out through USAID and push it back into the taxpayer dollars, I think that
I think you're going to notice that in these upcoming these upcoming elections. And anybody who was involved in that, I mean, it was a bit strange how many congressmen and how many senators from the Democrats said that they were retiring at the end of the year. Did you guys see all that? I mean, I think there's 3 or 4 of them that decided they were going to retire this year, and that's kind of odd, especially way before the midterms even started. So I'm not going to be shocked if there's more of these exact kind of events where they find out that there's millions of dollars that have been funneled into campaigns somehow to the Democrats from taxpayers. So I expect more, but this is the first of that, and I think it's good. She should be in prison. And she was charged in Florida, so she probably will be in prison, which is good. We need more of that.
Yeah, I mean, remember what Elon said when all that was happening? He said the biggest screamers, the biggest fraudsters are always the ones that are screaming the loudest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, whoever's the most upset when you cut off their money, those are usually the people that you need to take the closest look at. And that's true. That's just generally true. So I expect more of that. I expect that that's going to be a huge problem for them. And I want to hear what the spin is. What do you think the spin is going to be on this one, guys? She didn't know. I don't know. Like, I just can't wait to hear it. It's going to be great. It's going to be hysterical. Whatever this. She's just clueless. She just doesn't understand. She just funded it with taxpayer money, and it came out of FEMA somehow. And while all those people were drowning in their homes in North Carolina and from Hurricane Helene, we had to fund this woman's campaign. I mean, she's a Democrat congresswoman. Like, how else is she going to fund her campaign? Her policies suck, and no one likes her. So we'll see. I think this is going to be very interesting as it continues to unfold. I think this is only the beginning of these. I expect a lot more. Okay, guys, there's a couple people that are requesting to come up here. If you guys would like to join the show, you're welcome to do so. We're going to kind of run through a number of topics this evening. The primary topic, if you guys want to continue to talk about it, we can go into this Act Blue stuff. We can go into a little bit further into these campaigns and how money even showed up there in the first place is pretty interesting to me. So obviously we can go over that. We can continue to talk about the Epstein scenario, the Epstein circus that went on yesterday, and how it's just turned into even more of a circus, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger. There's a number of things like that we can go over today. Oh, there's also a story that I definitely want to bring up. Very important story I don't know if it got enough attention, to be honest with you. But apparently down in Charlotte, when ICE arrived in Charlotte, there was a massive change to the city as a result of ICE arriving. Now, I was looking at some numbers, and Jacktron, you found a clip on this, so I'm glad you brought it up, because this is a really interesting story, that apparently the moment that ICE showed up in the city of Charlotte, that 30,000 students from the public schools suddenly just disappeared and didn't come back to school the following day. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Anyone else know? Did anyone else see these stories? There's apparently, and I was looking at it, there was a number of other things that came out about this. That there was also a clearing of traffic for the whole city. I mean, apparently there's no traffic issues anymore. You could see there's a couple images I saw of the highways where there's absolutely nothing going on. I thought that was pretty wild as well. So there's a bunch of interesting stuff about this, but there's this specific one about the kids in the schools. This is wild. So I definitely want to play this here. This is a quick clip on this, and just listen to this story. I mean, this, to me, this should be front page news. I don't think it got enough attention, to be honest with you. If it'll play. There we go. Maybe.
We had 4.
District-wide, there are 145,030 students enrolled in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. On Monday, 30,399 were absent, 28,136 unexcused. While CMS doesn't break down the numbers by ethnic origin, Gillespie, a multilingual teacher, did.
Children of parents from Angola, from Vietnam, but the students whose parents come from Latin American countries were the students we were missing. So that was kind of the line, even among the ML students, is that we were missing Hispanic students.
So, I mean, that's pretty crazy to me. I mean, that 30,000 students don't show up to the school the next day. Now, I'm not surprised by the number, to be honest with you, but it is kind of shocking that many of them just didn't go to school the following days. I mean, they all evacuated the city. I don't know, but I mean, that's some wild stuff right there. Now, I do have some numbers on some of this stuff. I mean, just in my town alone, the Haitian population grew so much that I think the local high school went from having 90 Haitian students to over 1,000 in the past 4 years. So, it's not outlandish to think that in a place like Charlotte, a much bigger city, that there's that high of a population of people that are there either illegally or on some form of visa that's expired or something like that. I'm I'm not too shocked by that, but that's a pretty shocking number, I would say, regardless of how you look at it. 30,000 students don't go to school the next day. That's pretty wild. So, but anyway, I wanted to make sure we brought that up because I thought that was a really interesting story. Chief, you came up here. What has happened, my friend? How have you been?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I had to jump in on the whole USAID thing because we can't forget the EPA funds. I think the EPA funds far outpace the abuse through USAID. I mean, I just did my own little search and just $5 billion to an organization in California. I think the Climate United Fund. And when you looked at their board, it was all Democratic operatives. And then you look at the nonprofits, because they were a nonprofit associated with other nonprofits, they give money to them. They're all Democratic operatives. And these lower nonprofits, what they did is they suddenly took up climate justice, as well as racial justice and social justice and police accountability. And this to me, this was just a slush fund to keep the Democratic machine rolling in the dry times under Trump. That's what this was all about. I think the other thing is what Sean Duffy is doing in transportation regarding at least in California, the bullet train. How much waste in that thing? How much of that went to Democratic operatives as well? There's so much. It's like I'm thinking, God, it's like me working a high crime area. There's crooks everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I would be in heaven, and I can't imagine how much work Pam Bondi and Castro. I know they're getting beat up. How come you haven't indicted everybody? I'm just looking at the volume of work they have to do. It's huge, but I'm excited they're at least digging into this.
Well, I mean, to me, when I saw this, and I saw this today, my immediate thought was there's going to be way more of these. There's going to be a lot more. And I think these is going to continue to grow over the next few months. You're going to see more places where they get these people. Because you remember the USAID stuff, they started looking into where that funding was going. Do you think they just ignored it? I don't think so. I think they started going after that, where that cash was going, who was getting it, how it was moving back, because it was pretty clear to me the amount of money that it was being used for. I'm sure it was being kicked back. I'm sure it was. And the Act Blue, there's no way that it's a coincidence that Act Blue was also starting to suffer, and they were having they had to lay off a bunch of executives. I think all of this is related. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to be shocked at all if you start to see other Democrat congressmen, men and women that are caught up in more of these kind of schemes. I mean, if they're using taxpayer dollars to pay for campaigns, this is going to crush them if they keep getting caught with it. And I think this might be one of the first dominoes on that.
I think all the nonprofits, they funnel money to Democratic candidates. That pipeline's there. I think the other thing about Act Blue, because when Veritas, or I forget his name, he came out with that, I did my own search. I just looked at zip codes around my area, city of Santa Monica, West LA. They're all heavily blue places, to see if Act Blue was doing the same thing there, and they absolutely were, and it was out of control. Out of control. I looked at the Republican one. I forget what you called it.
WinRed.
WinRed. And so if WinRed had one, Act Blue had 100. Meaning, if WinRed had one guy where one guy made 100 donations or whatever it was, Act Blue had 100 people doing that. It was so far off the scale. It was unbelievable. But I want to speak up a little bit for FEMA, because I've worked with FEMA when FEMA's worked, and I need to warn people. Whenever there's a disaster, if you have solid people in states who know what they're doing, like we saw with the governor of Florida, DeSantis, early in the Biden administration, DeSantis had it squared away. He was outstanding in how he handled that hurricane, and all FEMA had to do is come and write checks. And that's the way it's supposed to work. When a state and local government isn't ready, like you saw with Katrina, then the finger pointing starts, and there's always politics related to disasters. What was appalling and evil under the Biden administration is when I started hearing that there was changes at FEMA, like DEI changes. I purposely went and looked at their website to read, and as a matter of fact, they had changed their language to say, we need to make sure that we are assisting marginal communities that have been not assisted in the past, marginalized community, and we need to prioritize them. The problem with that in a disaster, and FEMA's responsibility, state responsibility, local responsibilities, is you triage who needs the help the most. That's how it's supposed to work.
Well, and this is something that they did across multiple different agencies. The DEI push didn't just go into, it didn't just go into marginalized communities. They moved this as like a whole of government approach into DEI. That's what it really ended up being. I mean, the immigration system. They went after people that they believed were the most marginalized countries. That's why they started pouring Haitians into the country. That's why Somalis got poured in the country. Those were apparently the most marginalized countries, or whatever the hell it may be. So, it was every aspect of government was started to be used like that. Every single one of your funds, all of the public funds, how they were used, what they were used for, they were all used in that very, very similar way, where they were designed specifically to go after and help whatever marginalized community needed it the most. So I'm not surprised that FEMA funds were used like that. I wasn't shocked by that at all. So I expect that there's going to be a lot more of this. And again, my thing about it is that it's going to always end up being, there's going to be fraud somewhere at the bottom of it, because the virtue signaling, talking about how you need to be DEI this, do it, DEI that, it's all, at the end of the day, very few people actually believe it. It's all just a grift. That's really what it is.
Well, the other thing I want to say, because whenever you make these arguments, they always say the other side does it. The other side, no way. Not like this. No way. And on the FEMA thing, I just want to explain it to people why it's evil. I handled the worst train crash in California. It was 25 dead, 45 seriously injured. I was in Unified Command with LAPD and LA City Fire, which basically, if you're the incident commander, you come together and you're the managing team. And when you have all those fatalities, so you have fatalities, you have those that are going to die, and those that you can help, right? And so you lay out mats. You lay out a black mat, they're dead or dying. You may lay out a red mat, seriously injured, but maybe savable. And then you lay out a yellow one, injured, ambulatory, least priority. That's how you do it, right? And that just gives you a picture about how you triage. And that should tell you how FEMA should triage. And when you decide, okay, this person's seriously injured, but they're the wrong color, so I'm going to put them on a black tarp because I'm not going to help them because they're not a marginalized community. That is the evil behind what they did at FEMA. That's why I say it's evil.
Well, I mean, let alone the fact that they were essentially being told not to work with Trump supporters. If you were a Trump supporter, you weren't supposed to go to those houses. So just absurd to me. It's just crazy to me that they even had it in the first point. So crazy to me that this even became a huge problem, and to the point that you were funding illegal immigrants going into hotels. I mean, having 5-star hotel rooms up in New York. I mean, when I found that out, that was crazy. That's what I think that. Didn't we find out that building was actually owned by some Middle Eastern group or something like that?
It was owned by Pakistan.
Yeah, that's right.
Like it's a front company, but it was Pakistan. Like, I don't know what was more crazy about that story, that they had all of these rooms blocked off, military presence. You couldn't access the hotel. It was completely for illegals, or that Pakistan owned the hotel in the middle of New York, and they were filling it with illegals.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And the whole story was nuts. And just the fact that we even allowed anything like that to happen in this country. But the worst part about that is, again, what was going on in North Carolina at the time. That's the bigger part of the story, right? The bigger part of the story is that North Carolina was just suffering from a major hurricane. And then we also had Maui, that they had major disaster, and they couldn't fix any of it because they didn't have any money in the system, because the money was going up to pay for Pakistani hotels in New York to fund illegal immigrants to live there. I mean, I remember looking at one of the stories in, I think it was Denver, Colorado, how they had set up entire apartment complexes for illegal immigrants. I mean, they were taxpayer funded. I mean, why are you surprised when so many people show up here? But I guess I'm not even that surprised, because at the end of the day, the reality is the entire Biden administration, and I've said it many times, the Biden administration was a criminal enterprise that was designed to import illegal immigrants into this country and then pay them to vote for Democrats. That's what the whole scheme was. That's why there were so many people over the border. I mean, if you guys go look at the numbers on the Darien Gap. You guys remember hearing about the Darien Gap? If you don't remember, the Darien Gap was the section just north of Panama, the crossing section of how many people were going north from Panama, going straight up north to our border to come into the country. Go look at the numbers on that. So the numbers on that, where there was 500,000 or 600,000 per year, that's what was going on now. Now it's like 2,000. It's like 2,000 or so. It's crazy. I mean, and I don't know if you guys also remember seeing the NGOs that were all set up in that Panamanian old military base down there that were just helping direct illegal immigrants up to the country. Again, this whole thing, this entire ordeal was designed so that Democrats were being able to bring more people up here. That's all they wanted. And again, the FEMA fundings for this woman, the woman that used it for her campaign, I'm sure that was all part of it. I mean, why not? You can do whatever you want. You know, they're not going to charge you. They're not going to look after you. They're not going to look into it. The fact that none of this stuff was ever looked into, and I like that they mentioned that it was from COVID funds too, because the amount of fraud that was in the COVID stuff, guys, was astronomical. I mean, just an astronomical amount of fraud, unbelievable amount of fraud going on in that. So I'm not going to be shocked as we see more of these things come out, because I think we're only just getting started on that. Guys,
Walter, I don't know if you remember really quick before you transition. I don't know if you remember. I want to say it was Ashley St. Clair. That we're going back to early Biden years, where they were flying illegals in on airlines.
Oh yeah.
So you couldn't like they only had, it was a very limited amount of seats on these airlines because the rest of the seats were booked for illegals, and that's why people would get on these flights. And then I think this may still kind of be the case, but in that you get on flights now, and a lot of these flights, there's these delays and stuff, but when you get on the planes and you fly, it's like empty. And it's because I don't think that they've ever really transitioned completely back to 100% because the government has given them so much money to for those issues.
Well, I mean, the flight stuff, the bigger part about that was the fact that none of them had ID. So they were just throwing these people onto flights. And they didn't even have any ID on them or anything. Yeah, that was Ashley St. Clair. I remember she had a big story about that at that point. So she talked about it extensively because that was just crazy to me that even existed in the first place, that there was that many people that they were just putting on flights and then just sending them all over the country. I mean, there was just buses just dropping them off. There was also a number of stories that came out about the bus network, the Greyhound network that was being used to ship immigrants across the country. And it was all paid for by the Biden administration. The Catholic charities were getting a bunch of money out of this. I mean, all of this stuff together. I mean, like I said, it was an operation. It was a full-scale government operation to import these people into the country. That's why every town in the country became a border town within a couple years of Biden being in office. I mean, it became noticeable to everybody. That's part of the reason that the border problem got so bad. I mean, even the big blue cities started noticing it, and that was actually specifically because of Greg Abbott and DeSantis that started flying immigrants in. No, everyone may remember the hilarious video of the Martha's Vineyard event where they shipped illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. That was the funniest 24 hours I've ever seen. I mean, the Martha's Vineyard people were like, oh yeah, we love these people, and then within 24 hours they had the military come take them out of there. Like, one of the greatest videos is with the old ladies, the old white ladies, oh, bye-bye. They're waving their handkerchiefs at these people as they're being carted off to the nearest military base. Good man, that is just a classic. That is never going to be something I ever forget, is watching that. These people that are the liberal mob that loves these illegal immigrants so much, and they show up there and they're like, okay, bye-bye. We'll see you later. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming to Martha's Vineyard. You can leave now. You got to love it. You got to love it.
Hey, Walter, I got a question maybe for you and Christopher. So we had this huge percentage of students in North Carolina didn't show up for school, which indicates to me that as North Carolina, a swing state, there was a clear effort to change to make sure that became a blue state through this immigration. Because it's hard to say what percentage of immigrants per population, and we're in North Carolina versus New York, whatever. But clearly North Carolina was a swing state, and clearly they were a target for the Democratic Party. And they use this immigration tactic as an effort to swing it. That's kind of the way I'm seeing it, but I don't have the chops that you or Chris have in that area.
Well, this is the real question, right? So everyone wondered what the intention was, and was the idea that they can move them into these places and then get them to vote for Democrats. I think that is obviously somewhat true in certain states. The question is, how much could they actually get fraud to be perpetuated in places like North Carolina? Because I know they did it in Ohio, too. In Ohio, I personally think that in Ohio, what it was really comes down to in Ohio was that it was corruption on a business level. Because, I mean, I know specifically around this area that there was a bunch of Haitians that they were given apartment complexes. They were throwing old people out of their apartment complexes because the government was paying them more money So the Haitian immigrants were getting free housing, so they got free rent, so they could charge the government more, so they charged double. So they removed all the people from their local if the business owned it or something like that, they would just evict everybody out of it and then staff it with Haitians because they'd pay more because they weren't paying for it really. So it was horrible what was really going on here. Now whether or not it was specifically being targeted so that they could try and get they could try and push more blue in certain states, I'm not sure. Chris, you'd probably be better to speak about being able to move people into Charlotte. I don't know the election law in North Carolina that well.
Yeah, well, I don't think they cared about the election law. This is why whenever space I was on Spaces in was that 2020 after the election in 2020 going into 2021 and on, people kept referencing all of these people pouring over the border as illegal immigrants or illegals, and that was accurate. I fully believe that. However, I kept saying to them back then, they are legal. Unfortunately, these people are being the legal process was perverted and manipulated by this administration, in my opinion, in a not legal manner, and they made these people legal. Why was that important? Because by labeling them a refugee, they could move them anywhere, one. Two, give them an immense amount of benefits, and basically, in a nutshell, put them on the government's rolls. And in order to qualify for those benefits, they had to have what? A state issued license. So what happens? The translators of these Democratic county level funded groups and federally funded groups would take them to specific DMVs and have them get their license through the motor voter program. And these state issued IDs would then happen to check the box that they were eligible to vote. And they would get put on the rolls because zero states, when I say zero states, I mean zero states checked the valid citizenship of people that are put on the rolls. It was Florida under DeSantis that changed that, and they were the first state. If I'm correct here, they were the first state to begin to try to do that. Texas quickly followed, and then DeSantis created a law enforcement agency directly, specifically involving election fraud and electioneering and those kinds of things. And that's what in my opinion, turned Florida significantly red, was because they could no longer cheat to win in Florida. So this is what's happened in all these other states. So yes, they did take a lot of these illegals. They changed the HUD policy back to the Obama policy. So the Section 8 qualified as the average rental rate in a zip code. So all of these swing areas, suburban areas, let's be very clear here, suburban areas that had a rental rate of, let's just say, for a 3-bedroom apartment, let's say it was like back then it was 1,500, 1,400, whatever it was. Their Section 8 would qualify for like 90% of that. And so then you put several people in there that have Section 8, and now all their Section 8 is paid for their entire place for free. And so this is what has happened. It's not what has happened all over. It's what inflated rental rates in these areas. It also is what's led to elections, the change in demographics and voting habits of some of these areas, and then specifically to what I was going to address, which is the 30,000 that disappeared or that didn't come to school. This is the consequence, right? Because when you manipulate a system and move these people to areas for these reasons, and then you lose your butt because Americans are like, hell to the no, this is wrong. Well, I don't want to say the MS-13 people and these gangs, but there are some innocent children involved in these things. These are innocent kids, little kids that were taken from their families in these countries, ushered in through the foster system to, horrendous situations, and then the ones that got lucky did get in with, say, people who weren't horrible people, and they did take them to school, and they were going to school through this perverted process that has brought them to these places. And then they're now losing education because they're worried they're going to be deported. And it's sad because the Democrats and the people that did this, Mayorkas and Biden and these people that did this, they could care less about these families and these kids. They could care less. They were all political pawns to try to win an election in 2024.
That's exactly right. And that's why the Democrats don't care. I mean, to them, all they cared about is the power from it. And they think that now that here's the real deal. I don't think they ever imagined in a million years that Trump was going to win again. I don't think they didn't think they assumed he was never going to have a chance. They assumed that they would have gotten him, that there was no way that he could win. There's nothing they've been able to do to stop him. But somehow, Trump still won. At the end of the day, I say that it was divine intervention, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't really think many people argue with that anymore based on all the other things that we've seen so far. I think that it was divine intervention for us to be able to bring this country back. And the fact that the Democrats are now catching them with FEMA funds that they've stolen, I'm not surprised at all. And I think it's only going to get worse. Okay, Bowtie, Thrasher, you can go ahead. And then I got two other people, and then we're going to move on to another topic.
Hey, Walter, good to speak with all of you again. First and foremost, to your first point, what you brought up first tonight about the Congresswoman, they've already moved to expel. So this is no joke. This is the beginning, shot across the bow. You were absolutely right. I think we're going to see it more. I think where it's going to get interesting is with some of the senators who are in trouble. Who are in some hot water and where that might go. The other thing is to the Charlotte stuff. What's really interesting, I'm trying to find it so I could put it down in the chat below if somebody else finds it, was the teachers, what the schools themselves did in response to this, how they started sending out notices, basically encouraging folks to stay hidden and encouraging them that teachers would send them learning materials, do online lessons for them. And the reason being they might just be staying home in fear, which is probably enough to make a constituent in that area's blood boil. And the third thing I wanted to mention is if you guys get a chance, see the last thing the president posted about the Epstein stuff. What a pivot. No one pivots like this guy. He's truly a genius, like politically, a man of the time. To your point, in Congress today, you kept saying everyone keeps stepping on rakes. And today, Vindman in Congress might have stepped on a landmine, let alone a rake, when he brought up Khashoggi, because obviously Khashoggi and the Saudis are here right now. But obviously with not only what happened with Khashoggi, but really his connection to Epstein, because anyone here who's a Mike Benz fan knows Khashoggi and, the relationship that he has to certain agencies and countries it's a rabbit hole, but at the same time, there is some noted connections there. So opening that box would be a very, very, very bad thing. And it's surprising that someone like Vindman with the connections he has does, but just another example to your point of a rake, or in this case, maybe a landmine. So it's great talking with you all. Just wanted to bring those points up and just keep on listening.
Thanks, man. Thanks for bringing this. So, by the way, this is new, actually. So this came out at the beginning of this show, or just slightly before the beginning of the show, 1 hour ago. This is Trump's newest statement on Epstein. So I haven't read this yet, so I'm going to go ahead and read this for everybody here. So Jeffrey Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, was a lifelong Democrat, donated thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians, was deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures, such as Bill Clinton, who traveled on his plane 26 times, Larry Summers, who just resigned from many boards, including Harvard, sleazebag political activist Reid Hoffman, minority leader Hakeem Jeffries, who asked Jeffrey Epstein to donate to his campaign after Epstein was charged, Democrat Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, and many more. Perhaps the truth about these Democrats and the associations with Jeffrey Epstein will soon be revealed, because I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. As everyone knows, I asked the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and the Senate Minority Leader, John Thune, to pass this bill in the House and Senate, respectively. Because of this request, the votes were almost unanimous in their passage. At my direction, the Department of Justice has already turned over those close to 50,000 pages of documents to Congress. Do not forget the Biden administration did not turn over a single file or page related to, nor did they even speak about him. The Democrats have used the Epstein issue, which affects them far more than the Republican Party, in order to try and distract from the amazing victories, including the great big beautiful bill, the big beautiful tax cut, strong borders, no men and women's sports, transgenderism or transgender for everybody. Let's see here. So the ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, lowering prices, biggest tax regulation cuts in history, ending 8 wars, rebuilding our military, knocking out Iran's nuclear capability, getting trillions of dollars invested in the United States, creating the hottest country anywhere in the world, and delivering a huge defeat to the Democrats on the most recent shutdown disaster. For years, our great nation has endured Russia, Ukraine, impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2, and many other Democrat-created witch hunts and scams, all of which have been so terrible for our country and have been done to confuse, deflect, and distract from the great job that the Republicans and the Trump administration are doing. This latest hoax will backfire on the Democrats, just as all of the rest have. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. So, I agree. That's a hell of a pivot. But at the same time, for those of us who have been actually watching this whole ordeal, my theory on this whole thing was that Trump was annoyed that he had to deal with this in the first place, that he even had to talk about it, that he even had to bring it up, that he was very annoyed that he even had to be part of this because he knows that he doesn't have anything to do with it. And the Democrats ran with it anyway, and they've created this whole media campaign about this thing. I mean, this is like the number one thing for them. They've made it everywhere. No one talked about Epstein on the Democrat side for years until this happens, and now because they think they have this wedge issue, they're going to be able to convince people that Trump is involved. Well, I'm telling you, I think Trump's just going to dump all of the documents out there and not care. And if that happens, then. But nothing's going to happen as a result of Trump. Watch. Trump's not going to get in trouble at all. And the Democrats are going to be listed throughout all over the place, just like we've already seen. So, I agree with Trump here. People have been screaming and mad at him for months now about this. And I've been saying from the whole time, you wait. Just give it some minute. Let him cook. It'll be all right. It'll be okay. I think he'll figure it out. And I'm telling you now that, yes, I agree that there is probably going to be a huge backfire, and it's going to be the exact same result as all of the other hoaxes that they've tried to pin on him. Okay, every single one of these other hoaxes has never worked out for them. And I have said from the beginning, Trump always wins in the end, so you go ahead and be pissed at him and act as if you're going to give up on the administration and give up on Trump because he's somehow, because the Democrats told you that he's in the Epstein files. I mean, this whole scandal has gone back and forth for years. It has existed forever now. And I don't think that Trump, if anybody really believes that Trump was going to be involved in these files, they would have already released it, 1. But 2, I think this is just going to blow up in their faces. I think it's going to blow up in their faces. It's going to get way worse for them. It's not going to have anything to do with Trump. And at the end of the day, we're just going to watch it happen. Because all these people that have been so upset about this whole thing from the beginning, it's just going to blow up in their faces, and Trump's going to be right again. And everyone's going to be mad about it. So we'll see. People can claim that that's not going to happen, but I see zero evidence to the contrary. In fact, all of the evidence I've seen so far points to exactly what Trump's statement has been from the beginning, that he threw him out of Mar-a-Lago, that he had nothing to do with it, that Virginia Giuffre said he had nothing to do with it. I love it, though, that they try anything they can to get people with this. Earlier today, I have a couple of different news things that send stuff to me on a regular basis. And I got a notification earlier today, and it read it to me, and it said, Epstein victim claims that Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked her to Trump. And I was like, whoa, what the hell is that? And you go click on it, and you read it, and it says, well, this woman claimed that she was trafficked to Trump, but then it specifically says, but then she specifically said, well, but Trump didn't do anything with me, in the second sentence. So the first sentence, the headline is, Trump got a victim trafficked to him. The second sentence is, but she says he didn't do anything wrong. Do you see what the game is? I mean, it's pretty obvious what their game is here. I mean, this is just endless for them. They're going to try anything they can to try and convince people because they know everybody only reads the headline. That's all anybody ever pays any attention to is just the headline, and they think they're going to be able to win this over on people. I just don't buy it, and I don't think it's going to work, and I think it's going to backfire just like he said. Go ahead, Chris, and then we can go to Tommy.
Yeah, I think President Trump was annoyed. Not so much that he had to deal with the Epstein saga. I think he clearly knew that he was going to have to deal with the Epstein saga because that's what the Democrats were trying to pivot back to. The same, they're using the exact same circle of issues because they've not learned their lesson yet. But what he was annoyed by was that the Republicans weren't going on offense, and so some members of Republican Congress began the panicins, right? Began to attack him when it came to the Epstein files and releasing the Epstein and pressuring him to release Epstein files when there was clearly investigations going on. And so, so I believe that what we're seeing here was that Trump did an old-fashioned time kill and bought time for his administration that was handling a significant amount of other things to also be able to go through these files and figure out what was real, what was not real. And because there's going to be people in these files that are going to be named in these files not as predators, but just named as somebody who was we're already seeing it, at a Epstein party that he had, or a gala or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, that was Clay Higgins, by the way. Clay Higgins was the one single member of Congress that voted no on this. Now, let's put aside the fact that that is the dumbest PR move he could have ever done. Like I don't know, Clay. Sorry, dude. Like, I mean, not a smart. I understand the reasoning that he came up with, which is exactly what you just said, Chris. It's exactly what you just said. He said that, there's going to be people named in this, and there's going to be a mob-style media that goes after anybody that's even sort of mentioned in this. And that's true. He's right about that. But at the same time, come on, dude. PR-wise, terrible decision. Terrible decision PR-wise.
Not the sword to fall on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, just don't vote. Like, if you really wanted to take some principled stance on it, you should have just not voted at all. But instead, you were 417-1. Didn't look good. Now, will it really hurt him that badly? I don't know. Maybe not. But at the same time, it's just on a national scale, at least, not a smart decision. Just not a wise one. So, but again, I don't think it's going to work out. I agree with him at the end of it, though. I kind of agree with him because that's what's going to happen. Anybody that's mentioned in these files, anything even sort of mentioned in these files, is going to get in some sort of trouble. So,
yeah, and I think to summarize, I think Trump knew exactly what he was doing. I think now that he has them exactly where he wants them, maybe a little sooner than he wanted, to be real honest with you. I think he wanted to address this maybe next year, but now he's got them exactly where he wants them. He also, by the way, has seen the Republican members of Congress that have proven that they're not going to be loyal to him once again. These are also, by the way, the same people who did the same things. They started laying some questions and panicking when it came to Iran. I think he's seeing that, and I think he's well prepared for that. And I feel he's going to go on offense. He's going to release all the files under his control because it's his administration, and he's going to control the release. And by laying it out there, he's going to allow people to see other names, Democrat names, that were very much involved in these things. And I more power to him. I also believe that. And I've said this. Obviously, I have a network of Democrat staffers and people, from my past, right? And I'm still friends with them, like on a Facebook, or some of them still follow me on this platform or whatever. Okay, but I seen today several posts about how Trump's a pedophile and he's in these files and all this different stuff. And I just commented, and I just was like, none of this is true. If it was a victim has now named him, which is what you're referencing, Walter. None of this is true, and I stated, and honestly, it's offensive to believe that if they had that kind of documentation, that Trump would not have had the key locked in a cage and the key thrown. He would have been booked for life under the Biden administration, right? I mean, anybody with any ounce of common sense would know that.
Exactly.
The Democrats in this country have lost their minds when it comes to TDS. Whoever's advising them, and I said this, I said, whoever's advising you guys to try to blame Trump on Epstein and say he was a pedophile is giving you terrible advice, because Trump's base is not moving. I don't know what world people think we're living in, but this Epstein connection with Trump, they have tried every election cycle, every single time, and it's just they're not moving. So my advice was, it's sooner or later you guys better focus on what matters to Americans. Best of luck, right? And so that's my advice. Like, people who support Trump need to recognize this platform is not Trump's base. this platform, the real world out there, that's Trump's base. What could hurt his base is if he doesn't accurately address the groceries prices, if he doesn't address maybe the rising costs of some healthcare stuff. But we're already seeing him address this, right? And so where we're going to see him go on offense is now that they've played their hand on Epstein, and now that the cards are collapsing, and we have members of Congress texting Epstein in the middle of investigations, asking what questions to ask. We're going to have Democrats named in these files. All this stuff starting to happen, right? We're going to see him go on offense, and my hope is if the Republicans are smart in Congress, they get on board and go on offense and start to address healthcare, start to address the grocery prices and the economy, the real things that matter going into the midterms.
Yeah, well, the big thing is going to be the economy part. That's obviously the most important part. And you're right. The one thing I do like to point out to people is that Trump's base, this platform has people in Trump's base on it. But this is, you are correct, Chris. This is not his base. His base really is the blue collar Democrat, like the old school Democrat voters is what it really is. It is the white working man is essentially who it is that is Trump's base. And most of them, by the way, don't even have Twitter. Like, I just so you guys are aware, I literally work with these people every single day and talk to these people every single day. Not a single one of them has any idea that any of this is happening right now. They don't even care. They have no clue. Okay. Like I ask them all the time, what do you think's going on? What's the most important thing to you right now? None of this stuff ever comes up. I promise you, like it's not even remotely an issue, which is why I find it very funny when there's so many people that act as if it's the end all be all. And it's like, you can think that. Yeah, I'm telling you right now. But if Trump manages to fix grocery prices, if he manages to bring back thousands of manufacturing jobs, the one thing I think he actually could that is going to harm his base is this H-1B comment, okay? The H-1B comment, and I put a post out about this, talking about this a couple days ago, that people are being very unrealistic when it comes to the H-1B stuff, but Trump's not helping, okay? Like the comments that he made just yesterday about the H-1B, how they're going to bring people in, they need to bring thousands of people in, not a good comment. I mean, even if it's true, what he's saying, which is somewhat true, that they need people to train people, still not great messaging. So someone needs to help him with his H-1B messaging because it doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good to people. It's too easy to spin. Okay, so you need to make sure you can't give it spin. You got to make sure that there's not an easy spin on that at all. Go ahead, Chief. You got your hand.
Walter, really quick.
You go ahead.
To comment on that, because as you know, I also, I was raised in that union middle America family, right? And so the reality is 47% of union households still support President Trump. I think I could be wrong here, so fact check me if I'm wrong, but I thought he got almost 50-50 or maybe a slight majority of the union household vote in 2024. What we're talking about to people that are like, oh, okay, well, he got 47%. That is massive.
Oh, yeah. It's huge.
In terms of the Democrats' ability to win on a national level, when you have a 50-50 union or almost a 50-50 within the margin of error, union households supporting a Republican like President Trump for an election, right? That has down ballot consequences for other races that obviously gave these Republicans the majority in a big way, and so that's a big deal. They have to be heard. And if the Republicans are smart and they address the president's plan on health care, and we see, what he's, I think, doing, it's kind of being modified to a trust, but it was the original plan was a co-op in his first term. And people forgot about this. And you have these premiums, significantly a premium option that is very good coverage, but it's significantly less because of the tens of millions of people that are on this, and it's still a private plan, a private option, right? That is going to be the direct comparison to the Democrats' ACA coverage.
But by the way, there's something I want to bring up here. We need to make sure, at least people on the right, people that are paying attention, we need to make sure we stop calling it the ACA. Okay, I watched the Democrat media machine pivot this. It is Obamacare.
It's Obamacare.
It is Obamacare. Okay, let's make sure they don't get away with this, because I've been watching them do it. Because now the ACA has proven that everybody hates it and that it's very unpopular and that it was a disaster from the beginning. But they're now trying to pivot it away. It's not Obamacare anymore. It is 1,000% Obamacare. Obamacare caused this problem. It is a Democrat problem. They are the ones that caused this. They are the ones who created this. We cannot allow them to pivot away from it. Okay, we can't let that happen, because they're trying. They're desperately trying to pivot away from this thing because they know how unpopular it is. They know what they've done to healthcare, and the premiums are astronomical compared to what they used to be. We need to make sure we keep labeling it as Obamacare, because it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because they're going to tie Trump. They're going to tie Trump to it in 2026.
Yep.
They're going to begin to call it Trump Care. Mark the words. They're going to begin to call it Trump Care, because if he doesn't have a competitive solution going into the midterms, then then that's what they're going to do. But if they roll out his plan, which his plan is phenomenal, if the Republicans have any ounce of a brain in Congress.
Okay? Well, and who knows if they have any brains in Congress? That's that's a problem.
That would be the Trump's version, and Trump can literally say, "This is our version. This is what it's going to do. This was Obamacare in the Democrats' version. This, if you care about healthcare, here's your issue. Boom. Oh, and by the way, I have Bobby Kennedy. This is what he's done in my administration. This is what blah blah blah. And it's a direct contrast. All of that has to be put forward in a short period of time, and I think the Trump administration can do that. And I think it's smart for him just to get these Epstein files out there in the clear, and start to go on offense on the other topics.
Well, and here's the big thing: like the big push from the Democrats is on affordability. That's what their messaging is all based on. And I thought it was so ridiculous that we let them get away with that for these previous elections, the past two elections, so the New Jersey and Virginia, because again, as I've said it many times, they're saying affordability. It's so unaffordable to live here. Who raised the costs? Who did it? Obama's Obamacare caused healthcare premiums to skyrocket. Biden shot up the inflation numbers. It was the Democrats through and through that caused the affordability problem in this country. And there's not even really a debate about that. Everybody knows that, but the Democrats are hoping, they're desperately hoping that everybody forgets that they were the ones who did all these things, and they're hoping everyone just moves on, and then they're going to blame Trump anyway, and they're going to say it was all his fault. Like that, this is the problem. We can't let them get away with this time. They used to have the full control over the media machine. They don't have control over it anymore. We really need to make sure we nail them down on this, because they did it. All of these problems, all of the cost problems, are a direct result of Democrat policies. Direct result. I mean, someone needs to go pull a chart. I know there's somebody who has this because I've seen it before. There's a chart that shows when Obamacare was implemented and then the healthcare premiums skyrocketing up till now. Okay, I mean, I know how much it costs because I've watched the costs go up. I've watched the premiums skyrocket since I've been sitting on the board of a company where I've watched them every 3 years. The cost go up 15% and the coverage goes down. Every 3 years, it's the same story. So, we need to make sure we don't let them get away with this, because this is, again, a Democrat problem. Okay, before we move on real quick, guys, I want to make sure everyone shares this space out. This is the Political Theater. This is a weeknight space that shows up at 9 p.m. weeknights. This is the Political Theater. I'm Walter Kurt, and my co-host here, I've got Jack Tron up here, is helping me out with clips, and he's always on the show. And then Christopher Marino. Make sure you guys follow both my co-hosts. Follow all my speakers, guys. These are good speakers. They know what they're talking about. They're good people. Make sure you guys check out the Chief, LASD Chief Patrick Jordan there. Make sure you check out his show. He's got a show. It's called Briefing with the Chief. It's really worth watching, guys. It's a great show. Make sure you guys check that out as well. And go ahead, Chief. You've got your hand up, guys. Make sure you guys share this space out. Check out WCDispatch.com. And if you guys want to support this show, you can subscribe on WCDispatch.com. There's a newsletter there. There's content that comes out there on a regular basis. This show is also published on Spotify, on Rumble, on YouTube, on Apple. It shows up everywhere. It's always the next day. The Spotify version is a video version of this podcast, and there is a video stream that's up in the top. So when we share clips and stuff like that, you guys can follow along, look at the articles, and I'm talking about everything else like that. So go ahead, Chief, and make sure you guys share this space. If you got a comment, I do read all the comments, by the way, guys. Go ahead.
Another political question for you and Chris, I guess, is what I see at the Epstein thing is, the Democratic Party yells abortion rights and Trump's a pedophile and a cad, so vote for us, right? Because we're there for women. And I just, one of the things I'm counseling a candidate here in LA County where she's running for the Board of Supervisors, 5 women on the Board of Supervisors. But in 2022, we passed a law, or we repealed the law. Scott Wiener, who's running for Nancy Pelosi's seat, ultra-leftist, ultra-progressive, crazy guy, signed by Gavin Newsom. They got rid of a law that was loitering with intent to commit prostitution. What that law allowed was street officers to get women out of the life, arrest them, get them in treatment, get them in some kind of shelter. And Scott Wiener took it away from them because he ultimately he believes in sex work. That's who he is. He's evil. And what we've seen since then is an explosion of the exploitation of women and girls on the streets of Los Angeles. It's out of control. And the 5 women on the Board of Supervisors don't care. The Democratic Party doesn't care. Scott Wiener doesn't care. So that means they gotta label Trump and everybody else as the evil bad guys because they're allowing it to happen on their watch. And the other thing about that is the whatever 100 so prosecutors around the country that are Soros-funded prosecutors, they believe that same nonsense, and they're not prosecuting these crimes that are impacting women. We've moved away from protecting women in our society. You saw it with that Tish nonsense at with the guy walking into the bathroom, women's bathroom at the fitness center, Gold's Gym. None of the politicians stood up and said a damn thing. And so my suggestion is the reason why the Democrats scream so loud about this, scream so loud about abortion rights, is because they are undermining and they are betraying women, and women have no idea that it's happening to them.
Well, unfortunately, one of the worst things about the way that the Democrats treat women in this country, and this is something that really bothers me, is that they have done this for years. They just lie directly about pretty much everything. You know, they lie about everything when it comes to women. They tell all young women that at 19 years old that the only thing that you're ever going to want is to work at a widget factory your whole life and to bill 2,200 billable hours and have this big career. And they don't tell them about families. They don't tell them that families are the most important thing to them, that is the most important thing for most women that exist in the country. They've just convinced a whole generation of people that this is not for them. And what results in is the women reach in their mid-30s and then they want kids anyway, and it's a disaster for them. So it's not usually a good thing. It's not usually a good thing. It's never positive for them. And this is something that I really hope we manage to fix. And I hope, my real hope, by the way, is that Erica Kirk, in her new role at TPUSA, you know, Charlie did a really good job bringing young men to the conservative side of the aisle, bringing the young men into the right. I'm really hoping that Erica Kirk brings the young women. I think that'll be great. I think that would be one of the best things that could ever happen for this country if we could get women back to the point where they're actually, you know, they understand that it's not a bad thing to want to have a family and to have children. I mean, this is the most important thing, and the most happiness that you will ever come in your life is from having a kid. Okay, that's the reality of it. Okay, Tommy Casanova, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Really quick,
Go ahead.
To answer the question on that groomer Scott, whatever his last name is.
Wiener. His last name is Wiener.
Oh yeah, that's right. His last name is Wiener. Did he change that to that name, by the way? I'm wondering if you guys go back and look. I'm wondering if that's his actual biological last name or if he changed it to that. And I'm not even joking, because as you said, Chief, this guy is a very dark person. He's a very dark, perverted person, and so this guy is also the politician who's going to try to fill Nancy Pelosi's spot in Congress. That at the state level reduced the age of sexual consent to 14 in California. And he's also the guy who, in that same bill, by the way, that if your child, so if my son or daughter were trafficked and let's just say kidnapped and taken to California, I would have no ability to get them. They would have to volunteer to contact authorities and say that they've been kidnapped or whatnot in order for me to be able to get my kid back. And there's some people who say, well, that's not necessarily true. There's a bubble. Okay, yeah, but the bottom line is literally that's part of the law. That it opens that door. And it's a scary thing that's happening there, but with these people. And this is the stuff that's being passed in Minnesota, New York, and all these blue areas. And they're encoding this stuff into law. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I think some folks on the right have lost focus on the real threat to this country, and they're talking about Epstein and all this crazy crap, Israel and whatever, instead of that reality, because that reality has not gone away. It just lost one election. I mean, if they get the majority back, we're going to see the exact same thing recycled as we did the first term, and if it can go very bad really quickly because these guys are playing for keeps, and unfortunately, it's our kids and women, and this is why they're targeting Erica Kirk. So Erica Kirk is under a lot of these conspiracies and attacks for that very reason, Walter. She had that moment was so powerful in a lot of ways, and I know this because I have females that are my mom's age that are talking about, that I hear talking about Erica Kirk. Even my own mother is talking about Erica Kirk. Why are they going after Erica Kirk? What's it about Erica Kirk that they're going after her for? Is it true, Erica? And I'm like, you're like 67 years old. Why do you even care who Erica Kirk is? But it's because they're going after her on The View. They're going after her on everything because they believe that she has that ability to impact the female vote.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. Okay, Tommy Casanova, go ahead.
Hey, good evening, Walter. I just want to say to Christopher, you stole my thunder, bud, on those last two monologues. So it's just ditto on everything Christopher's been saying. Damn you. I don't think there. I don't think there are any more moderate Democrats or centrist Democrats. The way I see the Democrat Party today is that you can't call them liberals anymore. They really are just progressives, because classical liberals and liberalism has nothing in common with the current Democrat Party or anything that they're advocating for. Everything from the DSA to the erosion of free speech through hate speech laws, eroding the Second Amendment. I mean, classical liberals like JFK liberals were pro-immigrant, were pro-border security. And they're not. So MAGA, the way when I'm knocking on doors, I explain to people that MAGA is a coalition of classical liberals, independents, conservatives, and libertarians, right? Basically, everybody who's pro-liberty, who's pro-property rights, and I could assure you, knocking on thousands of doors, talking to hundreds of people in one-on-one conversations across socioeconomic boundaries, that MAGA is not fracturing in the real world. It is as strong as ever. And all that the Trump administration has to do to help us secure the midterms, right, is follow through on immigration policy, on jobs. Like, people are kind of fickle. They are very worried about like upward mobility and jobs. Anything that the Trump administration could do on that front now, because people don't understand like how long it takes, right, to repatriate manufacturing or to rebuild all the jobs, or, like California getting rid of 17,000 illegal CDL drivers, right? It takes time to course correct this ship. And I think the administration would be better served by, you remember Ross Perot, for those of you old enough, that did the, the pie charts and stuff. And he was like Toto, pulling back the curtain and showing like just how effed up the NAFTA was. I think if Trump did a bunch of that, because that's what I'm doing on a one-on-one, explaining things to people that they don't understand, like monetary policy, foreign policy, geopolitics, like just things like how money works and how these things are going down. That one, I give definitions of what MAGA is, and I just tell people MAGA is a rebuke of the uniparty, of the extremes on both sides of the political aisle. That that MAGA is America first. Our MAGA policies are America first, and yeah, we just don't. The internet is just not objective reality. It has influence over the uninitiated, the uninformed, but from my experience in the real world, MAGA is definitely not fracturing. And I'll just land there, guys. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I keep telling people, I operate in the real world as well. I talk to people all the time. And again, a lot of this stuff that you hear about online is just it's not permeating out from the online space. But, we'll see. The reality is that the worry is that everyone's thinking that this is going to happen because of the results that happened in New Jersey and in Virginia. But my theory on that is not that it's MAGA that's the problem. And my theory on that is that it's the Republican Party that is the problem. The Republican Party still, to this day, does not seem to understand that they are not popular, that Trump is popular, okay? Trump is the one that's popular, not the GOP. No one likes the GOP. Like, here's something that I try to get across to people. The GOP does not seem to understand that without Trump, they might be the most unpopular people in the country. They really might be. Like, I really think that the GOP, like the GOP rhino establishment, who likes them? Seriously, who actually likes the GOP rhino establishment types? Is there anybody in that constituency? Like, is there like 7 people and they've all been thrown out of Congress already? I mean, like, that's the reality of it. So my worry is that the GOP, and here's what and this is the message I've been trying to get across to the GOP. If you do not move forward with the populist agenda and put into legislation the populist agenda that President Trump ran on, if you do not get some of that stuff in there, if you do not get some of that legislation passed and make sure that it's law, make sure we get some of this stuff fixed, if you don't do that, the GOP is a defunct organization without Trump. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. So unless they pivot and they make sure that they take care of this stuff, it really is that bad for them. Nobody likes the old school GOP, okay? As much as I want them with like the old school GOP or, you know, some of the old school people, like you would want them to think that, well, you know, maybe they're going to move. And like, no, they're not. They're not moving, okay? They're the same problem that they always have been, and they hate Trump. They despise Trump because Trump took their party from them. They were enjoying their role as just doing whatever the hell they wanted in Congress. Okay, so hopefully that gets shifted at some point. Okay, Southern, you go ahead, and then I've got something else I definitely want to talk about here. Go ahead. No Southern? Okay, so I've got another story here. This story just came out a minute ago. I don't know if you guys saw this yet, but there is a story about a white lady that was set on fire by a felon in Chicago that had 49 prior arrests. You guys see this story yet? This is ridiculous to me. So this just came out earlier today, and apparently there's a bunch of bystanders and no one came to help her. So I'm going to play this clip here, and you guys can tell me what you think about it. And we're going to talk about this because this is yet again another problem that needs to be solved. So here you go. So, yet again, another person has been set on fire on a train. Well, why does this? I do not remember, and maybe I can be corrected here. But do you guys ever have any recollection of people being set on fire in America on a regular basis? Like, when did this start happening? And I know when it started happening. This started happening as a result of the mass immigration problems we had. I mean, there was that horrifying image that went viral as all hell. What was it, 6-7 months ago, when there was the guy that lit that woman on fire on the train in New York, and everybody saw the image of the woman literally burning to death? Like, I mean, that was like the most horrifying image ever. But now this is another story about this, and this is in Chicago this time. But this time, 49 prior arrests. 49 prior arrests. That is crazy. I mean, that is crazy to me that is that bad. I mean, I don't even know how that could possibly be that bad. It looks like people said that they missed the audio. Sorry, guys. Let me see if I can play that again. Maybe you can hear it. Here. No? There's something wrong with the audio on this. I'm not sure why.
I could hear it on my side, but...
Yeah, I know you guys, the stream can't hear it. So for those who can't hear it, the stream of the audio, for some reason, so this guy, what he said, specifically what he said here is that there was, apparently she was all consumed by the blaze, and then as she managed to exit the train, people on the platform managed to put her out. So sorry if you guys couldn't hear that audio, but that's what that was. But again, this guy had 49 prior arrests, and he was, this is, to me, I think that the judges that were responsible for letting that guy out 49 times, they should get the same prison sentence as him. That's what I think. That's what I think should happen as a result of that, because that sort of stuff is just simply unacceptable. It's simply unacceptable. Chief, you can go ahead and speak on this.
Yeah, of course, this happened on CTA, the transit system in Chicago, and the one in New York happened on their transit system. I just read an article here in LA on the LA Metro. I used to be the chief of police for the LA Metro. I was audited on my fare evasion numbers, and I was at 5%. The article says they're now at 47%. These leftists started their push. In fact, Patricia Colliers, who headed up Black Lives Matter, she started as part of the bus riders union demanding free fare for everybody. And most of these big cities have moved to this free fare nonsense. This guy has been arrested multiple times. I bet you he didn't have fare. The guy in Charlotte didn't have fare. What I did is for 2 years I tracked all my fare evasion enforcement, and I did audits on my system. I showed a fare evasion rate of 4.5%. That 4.5% evasion rate came down from probably about 14%. I saw a corresponding drop in violent crime on the transit system when I dealt with quality of life issues on the transit system, which is all of the broken windows theory, a la Bratton in New York. The strategies work. We know it work. But these democratic socialists have decided any citing of anybody for fare is racist motive, and we are paying for it with our lives. If you notice, the woman in New York lit on fire. The woman in Charlotte stabbed to death. The latest woman in CTA, woman, lit on fire. Who is suffering the most? Is our women, because they're not protected. We're not protecting the women and children in our society. This is an easy fix. Enforce the fare, get the fare evasion down to about 4 or 5%, and you'll see a corresponding drop in crime. And here's the evil part of this. The people most in need for the transit system are those who can't drive. They got medical issues. They're seniors. They absolutely have no money. Those are your constituents. And these democratic socialist morons will demand a free fare for everybody, which means nobody has skin in the game. When you don't have skin in the game on a transit system, you don't feel like there's an obligation. You don't feel like it's your system, and you don't treat it that way. If you get free housing, you treat it like it's nothing. If you get free transit, you treat it like it's nothing. However, I learned as the chief of the LA Metro, my most important customers were the ones who actually couldn't afford cars, couldn't drive because of medical issues, and seniors. And that's where I focused. That's why I focused on keeping the transit system safe. So this is appalling. So this isn't just an issue of another woman getting lit on fire. It's another woman getting lit on fire on a transit system.
Yep. Well, I mean, this is the deal with free stuff. You give people free stuff, they don't have any respect for it because they didn't have to earn anything to get it. This is the problem I have with entitlement programs in general. Entitlements, the problem, on a broad scale, entitlements create entitled people. That's the biggest problem with it, really. So, that's the biggest problem. So, but the deal is these 49 arrests getting this stuff out. There has to be something done about judges that are letting people out for violent offenses 49 times. There has to be. There has to be real consequences because this stuff is just appalling. I mean, it's disgusting. The fact that these people have been let out, rapes, killings, murders, fires, stabbings. I mean, what is going on in this country that we're going to let this stuff slide? We can't let it slide. We have to come up with some solution to it. There has to be consequences. There absolutely must be consequences. Guys, make sure you guys share this space out. This is a Political Theater. Thank you guys for showing up this evening. My name is Walter Kurt. This is the host of this show. If you guys are listening to us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you guys may be listening to us, make sure you guys leave us a review and check us out on all of our different platforms. Go to WCDispatch.com, and you can always find this show streamed there live at 9 p.m. weeknights. Jacktron, you've got your hand up. Go ahead. And then I have another story. Crockett has outdone herself with her latest stupidity. So go ahead.
I wanted to talk about the Muslim Brotherhood.
Let's go back. We'll talk about Muslim Brotherhood a little bit later in this. We've
Walter,
got time.
While
Go
we're
ahead.
on the subject of Chicago, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think it's worth noting if you haven't already mentioned this, since we're on the topic of Chicago, not only did this person get caught on fire by somebody who was let out of jail 49 times, but video went viral across the internet today of a pregnant mother and her 2 young kids that were toddlers.
Yes, I saw this.
That were brutally attacked by a group of high school students in Chicago. Or I think they were high school, maybe middle school. I don't really know.
Dude, to be honest with you, those videos, it looked to me like it might have been friggin' elementary school, dude. Like, I'm not even kidding. It was that bad. So, I'm not sure on that one. That was I saw that earlier today. But hold on a minute here. So we've got to play this here because this might be Jasmine Crockett's finest moment. So if those who aren't aware, Jasmine Crockett is a retard. And if you're not completely aware of that, I'm going to make sure that you're aware of that now. So Jasmine Crockett, yesterday, she came onto the House floor and she was talking about the Epstein stuff and how they brought up the fact that, that Hakeem Jeffries has taken money from Epstein. That everybody's taken money from Epstein. Well, she then accused everybody else. She was like, well, Lee Zeldin took money from Jeffrey Epstein. And so did Meghan McCain's, or, John McCain took money from Jeffrey Epstein. The problem was that it wasn't the same Jeffrey Epstein. It was just a very unfortunate individual that happens to be named Jeffrey Epstein. Now, that poor bastard needs to change his name. I mean, I feel so bad for that guy that he even exists, that his name is Jeffrey Epstein. In this world, that is just unfortunate for him. He really needs to look into a name change. But anyhow, so this was her response to this today, which is just fantastic. So let's go ahead and play this here. Let me make sure I can get the audio functioning this time. No, it's not working. Hold on a minute here, guys, on the stream. So this is Jasmine Crockett on here on this. Let me make sure I can actually get the audio to work on the stream before I play it again there. No, it's not working still. Well, I don't know what the problem is with the audio. I've been having all kinds of issues with audio this evening, so we'll see what I can figure out here. Go ahead, Jacktron or Chief, whoever wants to cut in. I'm going to see if I can fix this audio.
All right, so a couple days ago, Greg Abbott signed a legislation that declared the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council of American Islamic Relations as foreign terrorist organizations, which is going to be a very big, because the Muslim Brotherhood has been funding all sorts of Democrat politicians for decades. They've been bankrolling, according to reports from people like Data Republican, the Muslim Brotherhood has been meeting with the Obama White House, the Bush White House, hundreds of times in a bunch of different places. So it first began when it was co-founded by a guy named Nihad Awad and Omar Ahmad. They were public relations directors for the Islamic Association for Palestine, which was an organization that was convicted of providing material support for the terrorism in the United States and has since been dissolved. Where Awad was Islamic Association for Palestine's public relations director and Omar Ahmad was its president. So the CARE, as we're calling it, the abbreviation, co-founders were intimately tied with the implicated pro-Hamas Islamic Association for Palestine, which was under the Palestine Committee umbrella. Well, that was formed by the Muslim Brotherhood to advance the cause of Hamas in the United States. The Palestine Committee consisted of different organizations. They claim it does not receive foreign funding, but that's a lie. We know of at least one occasion where CARE received $250,000.
Well, so look, there's a lot of issues with CARE. And the deal is that I didn't even know a state could actually fund and set up someone as designated them as a foreign terrorist group. So that's very interesting that Abbott moved forward with that. And I'm curious to see what the result of this is. And maybe that's designed so they force it at a federal level, because I think it needs to be done. To be honest with you, these people are not good people. They have no good intentions about anything that they do. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens as a result of that. But I'm curious because it's a state level thing and they operate on a national and international level. So I don't know what that means. Does that mean they can seize their assets in Texas? I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, but we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Okay, I did fix the audio here. So I do want to play this clip here, guys. And this is Jasmine Crockett here responding to what I was talking about before. Where she called that two different people were, Jeffrey Epstein, and even though they weren't Jeffrey Epstein. So here's what Crockett had to say in response to that.
You talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled. And that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was,
Operation Let Them Speak is working out just fine. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. Operation Let Them Speak. I mean, this stuff is yes, I agree, Grammys. This couldn't be an SNL skit. This couldn't be better. I said a Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't say these. So I'm not the liar in this scenario. The Republicans are the ones that are liars somehow, even though I lied directly to all of you. And I just lied again. But, whatever. Don't talk about that. That's not important. So I love it, though. What on earth, these people? It's so great.
If she has a place where we can set up Crockett 2028 and it picks AOC as her VP, we need to all donate to that immediately.
Well, listen, I've been saying for a minute now that a Crockett AOC ticket would be fantastic. But again, you guys got to stop trying to ruin my yard signs, okay? I already bought yard signs for the Pete Buttigieg Kamala ticket, okay? Booty Juice and the Hoe ticket is going to happen. All right, I need it to happen. It's got to happen. So I don't want anybody to screw that up for me. So please don't screw that up for me. I want this to be the ticket. But, at the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing Jasmine Crockett go for it. And I love that, yes, Shelley said they Googled it. Yes, that's exactly what they said. They Googled it. It's just amazing. Like, it's just so hysterically bad. I mean, I don't even know what to say about these people. Southern, you've had your hand up for a minute. Go ahead.
Hold on, Walter. Before she does it, I just want to say there is a clip of Greg Abbott that I did put in the files if you want to play that.
Yeah, we can play that in here. Like, the whole Muslim Brotherhood thing, dude, that is a very complicated topic that we're going to have to cover at a separate time. So go ahead, Southern.
Thank you. Hey, guys. Couple things. When you were talking about home ownership, we had over 20% of houses removed from the market, the 3-bedroom, 2-bath, by institutional holders like Blackstone. They had an agreement with the federal side to house these illegal immigrants, and they charge per room. So they were making a ton of money. Stephen Miller came out as they're going through everything. 40% of housing that was under this program are still occupied by illegal immigrants. So we're continuing to pay. Now they're finding all this fraud in SNAP. They're predicting 35-40% illegal immigration, immigrants receiving money. We're just going to continue to see this. But on a bigger picture, we have Newsom talking climate change. Hillary's bringing back climate change, and LGBTQ is back in the news. And AOC is screaming in the wind that we are trying to masculinize our sons. That is a wrong thing to do. So all this extreme left is coming up with the socialism. So I am praying they get louder about it, because it will hurt them in the midterms, because nobody wants this conversation anymore. It went down, but they're going to start bringing it up, ramping it up, because they think they're on a roll. And Jasmine Crockett, I love the fact, and I much love her response to it. It just showed she has no credibility. And who goes to Google when you can actually go to a donor list and read who the donors are and find the name? And it would have had doctors in front of it.
But Southern, the better part about that is, like, anybody that knows anything about FEC stuff, and Chris, you know this just as well as I do. Anybody knows anything about FEC stuff, you can't just Google it. You have to go to the FEC website and specifically look at the names. Like, you can't just Google it. There's no just Google who donated. Like, that's not how this works. But it's very funny to listen to her. So again, Operation Let Her Speak is just doing wonders. I'm a huge fan of it.
But also, which is kind of funny, is Jeffrey Epstein never finished college. This man is a doctor, so it would have been in his record. So I find that even funnier. I guarantee, because she is so bad to her staff, I think she reamed them out, and she'll continue to ream them out. And I hope they quit and get on microphones. But we can joke all day about Jasmine Crockett and AOC running for president and vice president, but guys, they won't be the people in office. It will be people around them, and they will be puppets. They will just be puppets. And basically, in my mind, I look at them as they're influencers. That's all they
that's
are.
what they see themselves as, too. That's the funny part. I mean, I think there was the staff that came out for Crockett, right, at some point. And they specifically said that she's not very interested in actually being a congresswoman, that she's actually just interested in being a social media influencer, which is the same thing same thing for AOC. I mean, AOC's whole shtick is she does Instagram videos where she sits there and like cuts up fruit and shit. Like, I mean, that's like 90% of AOC's platform is her cutting up fruit on Instagram and talking to her followers. That's all she does. So, I don't think these people are serious people, but unfortunately they have pretty serious platforms at this point. So we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, I hope that they keep these people up at the front. I mean, I saw someone the other day was trying to argue that AOC, or I'm sorry, that Jasmine Crockett is just a master communicator. And I was like, oh man, wow.
Yeah, that was Charlemagne the God who said that.
Yes, that's right. Charlemagne. I heard her say it. You know what she said? She said, Trump is racist. She said, Trump is racist. And then she explained why Trump is racist. And I'm like, oh, Lord. Oh, God. This is master communication to you.
Well, she's also has multiple accents that she uses at different times.
Yes. I love the accent switching. It's fantastic. It's one of the funniest things about her. Okay, William Ulrich, you came up here. What's up?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. And then as a member of the Cajun Navy, look, Democrats use FEMA cash to fund campaigns. And I agree with that. And here's the reason why. I've been a member of the Cajun Navy since 2016. And here, it doesn't matter what your affiliation is, whether you're black, white, green, I don't care. If you're alive, I'm going to save you with my own gas, my own boat, whether it's in Asheville, North Carolina, it's in southern Louisiana, or it's in Houston, Texas after Hurricane Harvey, because your mega church person closed his church up, and of course his $40 million home you'd never get into. But that's not the point. The point of the fact is, if you're breathing, I'm going to save you. I don't care. I truly do not care what affiliation you have. You are a human being, and I am going to treat you as a human being.
Well, and William, I agree with your statement, and that's what it should be. That's what FEMA should operate. Why? And what the story is on this, by the way. So for those who are coming into the space late and don't know what the title is about, there was a Democrat congresswoman who was just found that she was taking FEMA cash and using it to fund it for her own campaigns. That's what this is. So there was actual FEMA money that she was overpaid for. I don't know how you get overpaid. I didn't even really mention that, but like, how do you get overpaid by $5 million? Like, oops, got $5 billion. I guess I'll just put that in my campaign donations. Like, what? I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world to me, but apparently that's a thing that happens. I mean, I've never seen anything like it, but apparently that is a common thing. You get overpaid by $5 million and then you just put it directly into your campaign funds. Next time I get overpaid by $5 million, I might be a little bit questionable about how it showed up in the first place, but whatever. Apparently this woman used it for campaign funding. So that's what the story is on this. This came out about an hour ago. So there's a Southern Florida congresswoman. What is this woman's name again? Hold on a second. I'll pull it back up here. Her name is Sheila Churfis McCormick. This is Democrat Congress. Why is it always a Democrat? Has there ever been a Republican that accidentally was paid $5 million? Does that ever happen? Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really remember many stories of Republicans accidentally getting $5 million given to them, and then they just use it for whatever they want. But anyway, so that's the story on this. So she has been indicted, and the defendants conspired to steal $5 billion and routed it through multiple accounts to disguise it as a source. Prosecutors allege that the misappropriated funds were used as candidate contributions to Churfis McCormick in 2021 congressional campaign and for the personal benefit of the defendants. So They got the money, they moved the money around all over a bunch of different places, and then it went into the campaign coffers, which is going to be, I'm telling you guys, there's going to be a lot more of this stuff. They're going to find a lot more of this. And the financial crimes, I keep telling people, are the most important because the financial crimes are crucial because there's a direct paper trail. You know, when you've got a social type issue or a social something going on, you might say, well, oops, you know, I don't know about all that, how I did it, you know, what I did. But the financial stuff, if you have the bank transactions, you can't hide that. You take that to court, you're screwed. And that's the reason that this stuff matters. You know, this is the Act Blue stuff is going to blow up about this. I think it's going to get real interesting real quick. Guys, if you would like to join the show, we've got about 30 minutes left in the show this evening. You can request to come up here. If you're listening to us on other platforms, to join this show, to come up here and speak and ask questions. You can talk about whatever you want. You can come up here and argue with me about whatever you want. You can come up, bring whatever point you want. If you want me to just argue about it, with you about a complete nonsense, you're welcome to come up here and do that as well. I have no problem listening to your opinion, even if it's wrong. But you can feel like free to come up here. And if you're on the other platforms, you have to go to x.com, go to @WCDispatch, and you can join the show and request to come up. All you have to do is hit the request button, and you can come right up here and talk. If you have a comment, you can always put a comment down below. And I do read all of the comments throughout the show. I try to read all of the different streams. There's multiple different streams running on multiple different platforms. I try to keep track of everybody. But thank you guys for being here. Make sure you guys follow everyone up here on my stage. Make sure you guys go to WCDispatch.com. If you guys want to subscribe there, that is the best way you can support this show, is subscribe to WCDispatch.com. It's only $5 a month. There's investigative reporting that's come out of there. The next reporting I'm going to be doing is going to Dearborn, Michigan. That's going to be the next article series that I'm going to be doing. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you guys go to WCDispatch.com and subscribe there because that's going to be the next series that I cover. The investigative series, the last big investigative series that I did was in Fairfax, Virginia. I broke the abortion story. That was the abortions for minor girls that were not being told to their parents, and that was being funded by the schools. And that opened up the governor of Virginia opened up a statewide investigation into that from the state police. I'm still waiting to hear about the results of that investigation, but that is the last big reporting push that I did. So the next thing I'll be doing is going up to Dearborn, Michigan. I'm going to be doing some stuff up there. So that'll be the next reporting I'm doing. So make sure you guys check out WCDispatch.com. And we're going to continue on with the show here. So anyhow, Operation Let Them Speak is working out great. I'm not really sure how stupid Jasmine Crockett is, but she never ceases to amaze me. I really do enjoy this stuff. It is incredible stuff for me. Let's see here. So apparently President Trump has now created a new nickname for Mamdani. And let's see here. I haven't read this yet. So the communist mayor of New York City, Zoran Kwame Mamdani. Kwame Mamdani asked for a meeting. We have agreed to this meeting, and this will take place at the Oval Office on Friday, November 21st. Further details to follow. So he agreed to the meeting with Kwame Mamdani, but he has to give him the nickname before he arrives. So the communist mayor has been named. Kwame is now the new mayor of New York City. So I guess we'll get to see about that. By the way, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Kwame has already been requesting more money. I love that he said that he wants more money. I thought everything was going to be free. I can't wait to see these fast and free buses. I hope Trump asks him about the fast and free buses. That's like the only thing I want to hear about, actually. Like, out of all the things that Mamdani says he wants to do, the most important thing to me are those fast and free buses. I just want to see how fast and how free they are. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I think it's going to be an absolute disaster for him. So it should be very entertaining regardless. Okay.
What does Kwame even mean?
Yeah, who cares? That's, Kwame Mamdani. So who cares? Now it's just Kwame. So I like it. I think it's hysterical. It's just Trump has already named him. He's got a new nickname. I'm having fun with it. I think it'll be great. And, what was I calling him? There was somebody that was calling him, what was it? Edamame. Someone was calling him Edamame a couple months ago. I thought that was pretty funny. I was just calling Mom Kami is all I was calling him for months. So, whatever.
I was just calling him the Zorhan, like from the movie.
Yeah, that is good too. I think I actually called him that for a couple months as well. I liked that as well. I think it's just a good mix. So anyhow, guys, make sure you request if you want to come up here and talk on the show. Let's see here. We've got Southern. You've got your hand up. You can go ahead.
I just wanted to add something to FEMA. I'm in Asheville. We went through Hurricane Helene. what we couldn't understand was FEMA was here, but they weren't doing anything. And we saw where some of the resources were, and they wouldn't bring them in. It turns out FEMA basically hands out money to vendors, and then the vendors take the job and get it done. Well, these vendors didn't do anything. So they just took the money, and that may be how she got her hands on it. But I'm hoping there's going to be an investigation because a lot of money went to people who did not do their job. So, and I think this is pretty common. So I'm hoping with the gentleman that we have, this is going to be something we can work toward and get resolved. But it is a problem. So FEMA's not doing the work. They're handing out the money to vendors to do the work. And they were very unorganized and didn't know what they were doing. It was a bunch of young people, and they were not close to where we were. They ended up putting their office in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is 3 hours away. So you couldn't even talk to them. So that has changed since Trump's come in. So hopefully moving forward, this is now identified and will be managed moving forward is my hope.
I hope
What
so.
happens.
I hope so. Look, the FEMA scenario, I think FEMA is a disastrous organization generally. I think they have not done a very good job. So hopefully that something actually changes with FEMA. There was a little bit of hope with that at some point what's her name? Kristi Noem came out at some point and she started talking about FEMA and she said what she wanted to do to fix it. And I was hoping that would actually happen, but I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen true results from that, though I did hear from people in Texas that after the flooding in Texas, that the way that FEMA operated was the correct way to operate. They were letting the locals take care of the majority of it. They were actually doing it. So that is good stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, because Trump came here. He promised to be the first trip he came here. And then Kristi Noem, when she got through, and then when Sean Duffy got through, he came because our highways were actually ripped up. In Western North Carolina, we abut Tennessee and South Carolina, but people in Tennessee couldn't come, or we couldn't go to Tennessee because of the highways were ripped up, and then the mountain slides, because we're in the Blue Ridge Mountains. They had to go through South Carolina to get to us to help us. But people all over came and helped, and Trump did a GoFundMe, which was $10 million. It helped. But people completely lost their homes and they were afraid to leave their property because FEMA was saying, well, you're only going to get X. So
look, everything to do with FEMA in North Carolina was a disaster. Matt Van Swol is a friend of mine, and I've been talking to him about it. I mean, he's covered it extensively. So, FEMA was a complete and total disaster there.
It was. And General Flynn, J.D. Vance came. Chad came down a lot to help. Even Kevin Smith out of New York came and helped. We had people from all over X come in to help us. But FEMA was a disaster. But when Trump got elected, things got done. And we were very grateful.
Yep. Well, that's the idea. I mean, hopefully that we can start fixing some of this stuff. Okay, guys, there's another story I want to bring up here, and someone reminded me in one of the chats here, so I want to make sure I bring this story up. If those don't remember, a couple months ago, or I guess it was a couple months ago now, there was a guest on this show named Christine Bish, and if those don't remember, Christine Bish was the whistleblower in the Adam Schiff mortgage fraud case. She was the financial investigator that actually brought forward the documents that gave into Bill Pulte. Well, that case has been moving forward, and now Christine Bish has been subpoenaed to show up by the grand jury in that case, and she's been told that she's supposed to give information about how much communication she had with Bill Pulte, with Freddie Mac and Freddie May, anybody in the Department of Justice, Ed Martin, any of their staff. So it looks to me, what this looks like to me is that they're trying to shift the blame, claiming there's some sort of conspiracy to bring these charges forward. I would think that that's not, I mean, I know it's not true because I've talked to Christine directly, and this is not a news story. She's been trying to get this story out for a number of years. So I think this is pretty interesting that just came out today, but I wanted to make sure I shared this. I actually have a post out about it earlier with the direct subpoena to testify before the grand jury, and they're saying that they wanted to sign an NDA. Now, I don't know how, like an NDA when it talks about grand jury stuff, that would pretty much be standard procedure as far as I'm aware. But the one thing I don't want to be about this is that, as a whistleblower, she's going to testify. I don't want her to somehow trying to wrap this up, claiming that she was working with Bill Pulte or something like that. So I wanted to bring this story up to people's attention because this is an important story. This is something that really needs to come forward, and we need to make sure we get all of these people. By the way, Eric Swalwell is also now been charged with mortgage fraud. I think this stuff, I don't care if you're what position you're in, Schiff. There's no way that you're going to get out of this. Okay, there's not some conspiracy. Christine Bish did not just come out of she wasn't working directly with the Trump administration to go after you. It turns out that people just don't like you because you're a penciled-necked moron. Okay, so let's just make sure that's clear. You're a pencil-necked idiot that's a complete dipshit that doesn't even live in the state that you represent. Okay, let's just make that all very clear for everybody. So that this is not some sort of conspiracy to come after you. This is not someone that just, they were working for the Trump administration, Schiff. No. Okay. That's not what this was. Okay. And I personally have read the documents and personally have gone through them myself and confirmed that it is fraudulent, that what he was doing is fraudulent. I looked at them myself. I looked at every page. I read through the entire report. It's very good stuff. So, if you guys go on my highlights page on my X page, you can see that yourself. But anyway, I intend to have Christine Bish on the show sometime in the near future so she can talk about this because I want to make sure that this gets the attention that it deserves because I personally I just want Adam Schiff for prison. Okay, I'm going to buy a T-shirt. I'm going to start selling T-shirts, Adam Schiff for prison. And I don't want anything to happen to the whistleblower who may actually be able to put him in prison. So I wanted to make sure people paid attention to that again and were aware of that this story was going on. So up on the screen, you can see the post that I was talking about. That is on my page. If you want to go scroll down, you can find it. But I wanted to make sure everyone's aware of that because the last thing I want to have anything to happen is any of these whistleblowers that come forward and try to get these people, I want to make sure that nothing happens to the whistleblower. So let's just try and get some attention on that story. If you guys share that, I'd appreciate that. Okay, guys, if you guys want to come up here and join the show, we've got about 15 minutes left for the show this evening. Request to come up here if you're in the space. You're welcome to come up here and talk about whatever you would like. You can have any comments you'd like. We were covering a number of different stories this evening, talking about the congresswoman down in Florida that was, stealing FEMA funds to pay for her campaigns. We're talking about Jasmine Crockett and her stupidity, the Epstein scandal, and the ridiculous circus that's now surrounded that. And apparently now Trump is going to bring the communist mayor of New York to the Oval Office, and I cannot wait to see how badly he trolls him. That is going to be beautiful. It's going to be fantastic. I expect, do you think he's going to pull out, make him sit down, dim the lights? Here's what communism looks like. I wonder if that's what he'll do. That would be hysterical. I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that Trump does, though, because that would just make my day. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But sometime in the next week or so, I guess we'll get to see the communist mayor of New York talk to Trump in the Oval Office, and I cannot wait. I expect full entertainment value out of that. I'm sure it'll be great. Guys, make sure you guys share this space out if you're on here. This is the Political Theater. Thank you guys for being here. Okay, any other stories directly that we want to bring up this evening that were in the news today? Anything else that anybody wants to talk about specifically? You're welcome to do so now. Then we can do open mic for the last, 15 or 20 minutes here for the show. So if you have anything specific you want to bring up, feel free to come up here and talk about it. Southern, you still have your hand up. If you got something to say, go right ahead.
No, I don't.
Okay, well, you just had your hand up. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't see it up.
Oh, well, it's up for me.
Well, Walter, we do have a couple clips that we could still play. Like we have the Abbott clip. We have some clips from Bondi, like from Jesse Waters.
I do want to I think I do want to play that Bondi clip because this clip to me is worth playing because it just pissed me off. And so I'll play this here. Just listen to this. Guys, I understand that Bondi, that Trump likes Bondi, but Bondi got to go. Okay. I don't care anymore. I think I'm done with Bondi. I don't know if I can support anything to do with Bondi anymore. This woman is just not good at her job. And part of her job as the Attorney General of the United States is to be a PR person. Okay. You're the Attorney General. You need to be good at PR if you're the Attorney General. That's just reality. That's just how it needs to be, but she's not good at it. So listen to this and just listen to these. This is just a disastrous. Another Bondi on the press conference. Someone just hire a spokesperson for the love of God.
A new investigation by the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files.
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
What are the next steps, Madam Attorney General, for the DOJ regarding what we assume President Trump will sign into law with the Epstein files? Is this going to be on the Justice Department website? What are you doing here over the next 30 days as we understand it?
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
When you say follow the law, Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
That. Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward, and we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
Wedding, Madam General. On Ryan Wedding, you mentioned...
Right? It's like a robot response. Like, I will follow the law and provide maximum transparency under the law to provide maximum transparency. It's just horrible. Okay, like, it's just bad. Can you not, like, I think there's one good part about this, is that finally someone got the message to her, which was shut up. That is the one message I think she finally got that through. Someone got that message across. Shut up. You're really bad at this. Stop talking. So someone got that message across, but we need to get a real spokesperson in there. And I like that we got a couple comments here from saying we will never get a replacement. We'll never get someone else confirmed. You might be right about that. And I like this comment here. Get her off TV and make it work. Yeah. Maybe she's a great attorney, okay? And there is an argument to be said that she is a good attorney because she's been winning court cases. She's been doing well when she's coming up to the Supreme Court. She's done really well with that stuff. Now, at the same time, you are still the attorney general. You still have to make public statements, okay? So we've got to figure something out because that ain't it, guys. Like, it's just not. Like, that ain't it. And I've said this 100 times, but I'll say it again. The problem with this is, and it wouldn't be so bad if the rest of the Trump administration wasn't so good. The rest of the Trump administration is excellent on messaging. They've got excellent PR. They sound good. They look good. She looks like a deer in the headlights that someone left out there and hit with a car. Like, I mean, it's terrible. I mean, she can't respond. She's like freezing up and she's like, I must keep to the script. Desperately keep to script. Don't say anything. Only repeat the line that they told me was okay. Like, that's it looks very inauthentic and it looks terrible. And the problem is that I think the DOJ and the FBI may have the absolute lowest approval rating out of all the agencies right now. Like, if there was a poll that could be put out on which agency is doing the worst right now, I think the DOJ would win by like leaps and bounds. Like, I mean, that would be, I don't even think anyone would even question that. Like, I think it would just win instantaneously. You don't even need to do the poll. Everyone would just agree. I mean, I actually might put a poll out about that. That would be interesting to see. So I'll do that real quick. But guys, make sure you guys, if you have any comments on on Pam Bondi, you're welcome to come up here and say something. If you have comments, I always do read them down below. I'm actually going to write this poll and put this up because I think this is pretty good. Caroline Leavitt take this job too? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Caroline Leavitt is the White House press secretary. She is very busy. Okay, so like, it's not like she can just, assume the job of this. The real problem I have with this is how can you, like, you have a massive staff as the Attorney General of the United States. You probably have a whole PR department. Like, fire them all and hire new people. I mean, it can't be that complicated to do this. It just speaks to me that there's a lack of leadership, and that might be, again, the top problem here with Bondi. Everybody else in the administration looks great, and they're swimming around. They look great. They sound good, and she looks like she's drowning. I mean, every time she's on stage, it looks horrible. So, I can't defend her because it's just not possible. I mean, every time she speaks, it gets worse. So I don't know. I'm still of the mind that I don't think she's going to make it through the whole term anyway. I don't know who we replace her with. I can't answer that. But I don't think she's going to make it. I really don't. I don't think Bondi's going to make it.
Ken Paxton, maybe, if he drops out of the Senate race.
I don't think that would be a smart decision. Ken Paxton needs to win that race. Now, the other thing is we got Bailey that moved over into the FBI role as well. So I haven't heard much out of Bailey recently. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you solve this problem. I mean, I don't know who you would replace Bondi with. But again, my thing is that the DOJ and the FBI have the lowest approval rating. If I had to guess, if there was a way you could judge that, I assume they had the lowest approval rating out of anybody. So I don't know how you fix the problem.
Pretty sure they do. Yeah. Well, and also, Walter, if we do want to move to another topic, we could also talk about that video the Democrats put out about calling for sedition. So Jason Crow was on Fox News with Martha McCallum, and he just got absolutely grilled. You have that clip in your repository.
Let's see here. Which one is this? Jason Crow?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look here.
You're not talking about actual policy. You're not talking about things that our members of our service members who we revere and respect are actually being asked to do. So when you see this video on all over the place, when you see this video on social media, I think a lot of people scratch their heads and they say, what exactly are they talking about? Are they talking about
Martha,
not allowing gunboats to make it to the United States carrying drugs? Is that what you're talking about?
Martha, here's a novel idea. How about we actually prevent things from happening before they become a problem?
I think that's what they're trying to do.
What you're saying is we have to wait until there's a problem to respond to that problem.
No, I'm not.
Right? As a military officer, what I think is important is we train people, we give them information, we prepare people for challenges coming down the pike. That is what I did as a commander in the military. That's what I'm doing now. As we are standing by our troops, we are reminding them of their obligation.
Order from the commander-in-chief that we are asking our military to carry out, are you objecting to? This is very, very vague. And it was so vague in this video, I don't think people could figure out what you guys were all talking about, honestly.
Martha, Donald Trump has made a series of very disturbing comments and suggestions that would violate U.S. law and put our military in terrible positions.
Again, we're getting nowhere because you're not talking about an order.
I don't want to wait until that happens to remind our troops of their obligation, because then it will be too late. We are standing by our troops and our amazing men and women in uniform to remind them
who sign up every day as you did to carry out the orders of the commander-in-chief. We are not engaged in new wars. We have no troops on the ground in Ukraine except some who were training pilot missions, not on any front lines of any kind. In the Caribbean right now, we've sent a carrier there. I thought these were the specific operations that are actually happening that you might be referring to. But we've created a huge presence.
Well, this is just ridiculous. And I know that there's a Miller clip on that as well, isn't there? Because I liked Miller's response to this whole ordeal.
Yeah, I am. It's in the repository. It's under Miller.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that one, because that is this whole thing. If those who missed that yesterday, we covered this yesterday. There was that ridiculous video from Melissa Slotkin where she came out and, you can refuse unlawful orders. You must refuse unlawful orders. That was just so crazy to me that they did that. But it's illegal for you to refuse a lawful order. And I don't know what lawful orders they have in here. I'm looking for this clip on Miller. I don't see it in here. I'm not sure which one it is. Oh, it's probably under insurrection, actually. I bet you that's it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So this was Miller's response to it. And of course,
it is insurrection, plainly, directly, without question. And when you have one of the lawmakers on that video being unable to state in, as you say, lengthy cross-examination, a single so-called illegal order, it just proves the point. It's a general call for rebellion from the CIA and the armed services of the United States by Democrat lawmakers, saying that you have not only the right but the duty and the obligation to defy orders of the commander-in-chief, that those who carry weapons in America's name should defy their chain of command and engage in open acts of insurrection, that the CIA, the clandestine service, which isn't even legally authorized to operate in the United States, should engage in, again, acts of rebellion and insurrection. These lawmakers should honestly resign in disgrace and never return to public office again for even daring to think, let alone to say these words and to say them proudly. But it shows what a dangerous moment we're in. We have seen the Democratic Party nurse the flames of violence and insurrection against the federal government for the last 10 months. When you see this continuous campaign of violence against ICE officers and Border Patrol agents, when you see Democrat sanctuary politicians and Democrat sanctuary governors side with the rioters, side with the assaulters over federal law enforcement, and that spills even into juries and grand juries, when you see Democrat jurors engage in nullification to let off violent attackers who are engaging in physical violence, physical assault against federal officers. This is a dangerous moment. You have a political party, an organization, the Democrat Party, and their message is that any action, no matter how unlawful, no matter how dangerous, no matter how much it threatens constitutional order, is justified if it keeps Democrat policies in effect at any cost.
There's Miller on that, and that is fantastic, as always, from Miller, honestly. I think every time they have one of these issues when these people come out, Miller's the only person I really like hearing from on it because he's just ruthless about it. And yeah, they should resign in disgrace because it was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. It was gross. I mean, that whole video was absurd. It was completely absurd that they did it in the first place. I've never seen anything like it. But claiming that we need to somehow come out here and we need to stop. We need to come out here and what on earth is going on now? We need to come out here and make sure that everybody follows along with the Democrat messaging and that we need to refuse lawful orders. I mean, what are you asking? What are you trying to accomplish? That's what's crazy about this whole ordeal. I mean, this is the most the ridiculous thing that the Democrats have done. And watching Slotkin and all these other people come out and act as if this is some sort of normal thing is just ridiculous to me. But good on Miller, and I liked that. That's pretty solid. By the way, guys, I put that poll up there in the top. So I listed 4 agencies. You can take your vote on which one it is. I'm assuming I already know what the answer is, but if you would like to vote on that poll, that is up in the top of the space on the X.com on the X space as it's running right now. But guys, I don't know if I have anything else for us this evening. We are over time, but we do have. Hold on a minute here. Hold on a minute. If you guys have anything else you'd like to join the show and bring up and comment on, you guys are welcome to request to come up here on the show. You can go to X.com, go to @WCDispatch. Usually run for about an hour and 15. We've got about 10, 15 minutes left. If anybody would like to join the show and make any comments or ask questions, you guys are welcome to do so. If you guys are on any of the spaces, you guys are welcome to, on any of the other streaming platforms. If you put a comment down below, I do actually read all the comments throughout the show. So if you guys have anything to say before we shut down for this evening, you guys are welcome to ask now. The last 15 minutes or so, we usually run.
Well, there was also this other news where some guy who was working at the DOJ is suing the DOJ because they
actually. I think I did actually clip in there, but that's an interesting story, but that's not really worth us covering if we've only got the last few minutes here. If we have any other specific stories or anything, any of the comments people want to bring up here for this evening, if you guys have anything else to say, you can join now. If not, then we will shut down for the evening and we'll see you guys tomorrow night if that's it. So last call for that. And if that's it, then we're going to shut down and we will see you guys tomorrow night, guys. This is the Political Theater. I'm Walter Kurt. Make sure you guys follow all the hosts up here on the show. Make sure you guys subscribe to WCDispatch.com. It is free if you want to, but it's also got a paid option. It's only $5 a month. And as I said earlier, there's going to be some reporting coming out from Dearborn, Michigan. That's the next place that I'm going from the investigative series. Make sure you vote in that poll, actually, that I put up there on the top. That'd be helpful if you guys could share that. And make sure you guys come back here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. for more of the Political Theater. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark. Their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound, ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no, we ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so Some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised hares, no. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so... Yeah, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. Not the theater's pawns, friend. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're America's steadfast ones. No, we won't be spun.